Dr. Andrea Schnowski and
Tori.
And we are here with Health and Horsepower. Today we are going to be making a homemade sunscreen. We're going to be making a mineral sunscreen that has much safer ingredients than a lot of the ones on the commercial market. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about kind of why we're doing this today. So I'll jump in with that video now. Hello. So today's Wellness Wednesday video, we're going to be talking a little bit more about sunscreens. So I think it's really important to distinguish that there are two types of sunscreens that are on the market. So there are chemical sunscreens. Typically that means the chemicals that are used in that sunscreen absorbs into your skin, and then they work by basically converting UV rays to heat. So it heats up your skin. The only drawback to those is those chemicals absorb through your skin. That means they get in your bloodstream, and a lot of the chemicals in them tend to cause issues with a lot of other health systems, which we're going to talk a little bit more about today. The other types of sunscreens are mineral sunscreens. So mineral sunscreens typically are going to use minerals that we see in the environment to basically form a shield and block UV from actually getting to the skin. A lot of sunscreen companies and a lot of sunscreen products that are out on the market currently use a combination of both of those. So even if they say they are a mineral sunscreen, a lot of times they are still going to have some chemicals in them as well. And my biggest concern for my family and myself, and even the patients in my practice, is looking at some of the chemicals and what they do inside of our body. So I think it's really important to understand, number one, what you're going to be putting on your body, whether you're applying a lotion or a spray, but also looking at some of the harms that those chemicals have and what they can do to your body. One other important distinction to also think about is if you're applying a lotion on the skin, that lotion obviously is going to stay where you apply it. If you're using a spray, you can also be inhaling that as well. So just keep in mind that when you are using a lotion product, it goes right where you put it. Sometimes you can miss some spots, but if you're using a spray, you can also be inhaling some of those chemicals. And also, again, you can miss spots as well. So just make sure when you're using sunscreen, you're using that appropriately. Obviously, it's important to make sure we protect our skin from damage from the sun so that it doesn't cause skin cancers and things like that. But we also want to make sure that we are not damaging our skin itself from the sunlight. And again, important thing for me is looking at those chemicals. So let's talk a little bit more about I'm going to talk more about the top 5 that I think are the biggest issue. The number one problem and number one chemical that I see that is most common and also the most toxic is oxybenzone. So if you're looking at the labels on your sunscreen, oxybenzone is a chemical that can be found in sunscreen. It does absorb into the skin, so that is going to get in your bloodstream and spread throughout your body. I want you to keep in mind that chemical specifically tends to cause a lot of skin allergies and also sensitivities. One thing that's kind of interesting is that that oxybenzone actually becomes more harmful when it is exposed to sunlight, and typically will cause more chemical reactions and more likelihood of skin allergies. Interesting, since we're applying it to our skin specifically for sun exposure. Another thing to keep in mind is that oxybenzone is a hormone disruptor. So that means it's going to change how your body uses hormones and how those hormones are used in your body. It typically causes more issues with raising estrogen, which we know that raising estrogen, that is one of the kind of across the board risk factors for cancer development is high estrogen levels. Another thing that's important to realize is that oxybenzone has also been found to be toxic to sperm. So when you're applying that on your skin, it absorbs in your bloodstream. It can cause hormone disruptions for thyroid function. It can cause hormone disruptions for fertility. It can cause issues with sperm counts and things like that. It has also been found to be a procarcinogen. That means it's going to be cancer causing for cells inside your body, not, again, limited to the skin because it's soaking in, getting in the bloodstream, so it can get into other areas of your body. The other thing to think about is that also can get off of your skin when you're in the water, and it does react with chlorine and can cause some pretty toxic pollutants inside of the water inside of a swimming pool. It can also damage coral reefs in very small amounts. So keep in mind that oxybenzone is probably one of the ones that I would be very, very, very apt to recommend avoiding. There are a lot of other benzones that are out there that you can find in sunscreens, things like avobenzone, dioxybenzone, and then also sulosobenzone, which that one a little less absorption, but still kind of the same with the endocrine disruption and some of the other concerns with that. Another one is octinoxate. I always have a hard time saying that one. That one specifically is a UV filter. So that one is going to help try to block out UV rays. One of the biggest concerns with that one is it actually has been found in breast milk. So that means that if you are pregnant or nursing and you are using specifically that sunscreen that has that in it, octinoxate, that one has been found to pass through into breast milk. It is another endocrine disruptor, so it's been associated not only with thyroid and also like hormone health. It's also been associated with behavioral alterations too. So again, if you have kiddos that you are nursing, or if you are growing a baby inside of you, that may be one that we would be a little bit concerned about, because that does tend to cause some behavioral alterations for you as well as potential children that would be ingesting that. Another one to think about, number 3, is homosalate. That is one that is, again, another chemical UV filter. That one has actually been found to be in the European Union to be labeled as unsafe in any concentrations over 10%. Matter of fact, in sunscreens over in Europe, they have basically not allowed sunscreen companies to use concentrations over 1.4%. However, in the US, the FDA allows concentrations up to 15%. So that is definitely a concerning feature for me. Number 4 is octicrylene. So that is another cancer-causing carcinogen. There is a ton of research on these. You can look them up yourself. And then one other one I think that is kind of newer on the market or people don't realize is called Patamate O. That is basically a byproduct of parabens, so PABA, PABA. That is one that has been found to be, number 1, poisonous. It's been associated with DNA damage and allergies as well. So it used to be that we'd have PABA inside of our sunscreen products. Now they use this Patamate O as an alternative. It's basically the same thing, has some of the same harms associated with it. So just keep those in mind. Tori's going to help me later today to actually make some sunscreen. So there are ways to basically make your own mineral sunscreen. So that's one that sits on top of the skin. That's going to help to actually block the UV rays. Now, typically the biggest concern when it comes to those mineral sunscreens is what is in the actual lotion base. And is that going to cause harm when it passes or possibly soaks in or sits on your skin for a long time? Because your skin's an organ. It's going to absorb things that you set on top of it. Obviously, when we're using minerals like zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, those are great as shields and blockers as a mineral base. However, the concern that I have is the lotion base underneath that. So pretty much you can make your own sunscreen. You want to basically change the mineral content to change the SPF. So I'll go over that a little bit more when we're doing the recipe, but typically you're going to use anywhere from 5 to 20% or more of your base to change the SPF. So if you're using, say, about 25% of non-nano zinc oxide or 20% of nano zinc oxide, you would be basically getting at least a 20% SPF protection level. So we're going to be making about a 40. We've got some light-skinned people. Tori and Jamie both burn like lobsters at my house. So we're going to be making about a 40% SPF sunscreen today. And then we are going to put it in these nice little metal tins that we will be carrying with us to car shows and vacations and everywhere we go. I always feel like every time we go for a drive or a car show, we're always looking for, oh my gosh, did we bring sunscreen? We usually try to keep it in the car. However, it does break down with heat. Especially with a lot of the commercial products out there. So the great thing about the one that we're going to be using, it is basically all natural lotion base. So it's basically you can make the lotion yourself, and then we're just adding the zinc oxide for the SPF for the actual mineral SPF or mineral shielding for the sunscreen factor. So we'll be tuning in with that. I just wanted to give you guys kind of an overview of why I'm doing this and some things to consider. So again, think about whether you're using a chemical versus a mineral type of SPF, as well as what is inside of the base and how that's going to affect your health and the health of your family. So we'll be tuning in with that in a little bit. And like I said, we'll have some of that we'll be using around town. So we'll have to test it out and tell you how effective it is. This is a different recipe I have not tried before. Normally I just take my regular lotion base that I make and add it, but I'm trying something different where you actually make it all together, and like I said, messing with the SPF. So we're gonna aim for about 40 SPF with this one, so we'll tune in with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our mineral sunscreen that we're gonna make today. So we're gonna need a couple ingredients. So let's go over our ingredients, Miss Tori. First, we need beeswax. That's gonna help to make sure that it sits on the surface of our skin. You can use a little beads here. You can also use, they have flakes and chunks and stuff like that. You can get this from someplace local to you. You can also order it online. We are also going to be using some zinc oxide. Now you can get many different kinds of this. So there is non-nano uncoated. You can also get nano, which is going to be smaller size, so it's a little bit more effective at blocking. I personally like the non-nano just because I think the bigger molecules help to block and less absorption, in my opinion. We're also going to be using tallow. So you can get tallow locally from you. You can probably even talk to a butcher if you really wanted to, or a local homestead. This here specifically is from grass-fed, non-GMO, and also we have no gluten in here, no chemicals or anything like that. So this is just non-hydrogenated. So we want to make sure it is basically has no chemicals or anything in there that's going to be an issue for us. So this is what we've got for today. We're also going to be using some olive oil, just plain olive oil. You can get extra virgin, whatever you want is fine. I just have this on hand. And then we're also going to be using some coconut oil. Typically you want to make sure it is virgin and unrefined. Organic is also ideal. We don't typically have too many issues with non-organic coconut oil, but I just prefer to use the best quality when I'm making something that's going on my skin. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to be using a glass mason jar. We're going to be doing a double boiler for this. So basically with this, you're going to be making a lotion base, adding your zinc oxide, melting everything down, mixing it up really good, and cooling it. Once it's done cooling it, we are going to be putting it in these cute little containers here. So we'll be putting it in here, and then we can take those with us. I just ordered these brand new from Amazon. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to need 1/4 cup of beeswax. Now, typically depending on the SPF value that you are wanting to use for your sunscreen, you're going to use different quantities of everything. So that's not enough. It's got to be to the top. So we need 1/4 cup beeswax. Perfect. And we're going to dump that in there. All right, let's get these little guys back in. Make sure you tap it so all the ones that are inside there come out. Okay. Are they all out? Perfect. And then we are going to do 1/3 cup olive oil. So that's this one here. If you want to hold that, I'm going to pour it in.
Over there.
Yeah. Here, lift it up though.
That's not bad enough.
That's 1/3 cup. And then you're going to pour it slowly in there.
Just like the beeswax.
Yeah. And then we're also going to use 1/4 cup tallow. So this is going to be a little messy. I've got to take the seal off here too.
How much do we need?
We need 1/4 cup of this. So hold on, we're going to do it a different way. Just hold that. We're going to use a knife to put it in here. Yeah, so this is kind of chunky, but that's why we're going to melt this. So we're going to pat it in there, and then we're going to take this knife to separate it and get any stuff out of the edges there. Okay. And then we also need 1/4 cup coconut oil. I'm going to do this part, so if you want to back up a little bit.
Is that coconut?
Yep, don't touch it, please. So we're going to do the same thing.
Oil. Coconut oil, coconut oil, coconut oil.
And then same thing, we're going to go ahead and go around the edges here.
Separate it.
Separate it out so everything's in here. And then the next step that we're going to use is we are going to be putting in our zinc oxide. So we want to make sure, so again, depending on what the SPF you're using for this is, if you are wanting to get an SPF of at least 20%, you would need 25% of the non-nano zinc oxide. If you want, if you do have the nano zinc, or the nano zinc oxide, which is going to be the smaller, you want 20% weight. So this is going to be about 9 ounces, so we're going to be using anywhere from 2 to 4 ounces of the non-nano zinc oxide to give us, if we use 2 ounces, which is going to be, I believe that's a 1/4 cup, is going to be 20, and we're going to use a 40. So we're going to do basically a 1/2 cup, which, let me open this up here, of this.
Can I put
Alright.
it in?
This is going to be messy, so hold on a second. Okay, so we're going to need 1/2 cup, which is going to be 2 full scoops. That's not a full scoop, so you need 1. Make sure that goes all the way to the top. Perfect. So put 1 of those in there. Oh, you missed a little bit. Okay, and then do 1 more. So this is going to give us about 40 SPF. Okay, perfect. And go ahead and put it in there. Just be careful this time because that's messy. Okay, and then we're going to put this on a double boiler, melt it down, and then we'll pop back after it's after it's cooled down, and we'll show you how we put it inside of our tins. So we'll come back after that. Bubble, bubble, toil and trouble. What are we making? Well, we have ooh, my camera's fogging up there. We've got a zinc oxide mineral sunscreen we are making with a coconut oil base. And we're going to make one with a shea butter base as well. So tune in and check out our video on Wednesday to find out more how to make your own sunscreen with less chemicals and a healthy family. All right, so we've got our 2 sunscreens. We made a 20 SPF with a shea butter base, which is more of a yellowy. And then I have my coconut oil 40 SPF. So remember, these are mineral sunscreens, so they are going to block UV rays from absorbing into your skin. So you will have to rub them in so that they're not white, but they're going to start off white, as you can see. Tori's is a little bit more yellow. I definitely feel like the shea butter is absorbing a lot better than the coconut oil, so I think next time I make this, I'll probably just use shea butter for both. But we made, like, I think 8 of these little 20 SPFs with the coconut oil, and we made 7 of the 20 SPF with the shea butter base. So we've got options.
Shea butter. Shea butter.
Yep. And then these also have beeswax, so they will actually stay a little bit more solid even if they get hot. So hopefully it won't make a mess in the cars or the purses if we need to use those. So this is the 20 SPF coconut. So you can see there's a little bit of like a white tint to my skin. And that is a zinc oxide, which is going to be protecting. And you can see Tori, she's rubbing hers in. But like I said, that shea butter it seems to soak in a little bit better. Kind of just rubs in a little easier too. So, yeah. So that's our trials of these guys. And we'll have to check in with you and let you know what we thought of them. But I definitely think I'm going to like the shea butter base better, just because it seems to rub in a little bit smoother and easier. So thanks for tuning in to Health and Horsepower.